If you are a white belt and you just started BJJ and you're wondering, how can I get better at this faster? Then this video is definitely for you. I wish I would have had this video when I first started. Oh. And when you find your passion, it ignites you as a person. You just feel awesome. I remember my first month of Jiu Jitsu, walking in those doors, looking at everybody live training and those black belts and being in complete awe of their skill. It was at that point that I promised myself that I would get good at this sport. I would try to do this as efficiently as possible. I wanted to get good fast. Like that was my mission. So I did everything that I could to get there, right? I went to class, I did as many reps as possible with my training partner. I asked questions, I paid attention, but here's the thing. I remember rolling multiple times, trying to actually do the move that we learned in class, and it just getting completely shut down over and over and over again. Or I would be in the middle of the roll, and I would think of something to do when it was absolutely too late. Like, it's almost like, have you ever had witty banter with somebody and then you're walking away a minute later and you're like, oh man, I should have said that. To me, rolling was the same thing. Like, either I couldn't remember a move fast enough in order to implement it, or I would actually remember the move and it wouldn't work. So this is a problem that is very, very common in Jiu Jitsu, and we're going to go over the solutions to that problem. And I'm also going to explain some of the roadblocks that I definitely encountered when trying to implement these solutions. That way you have a good roadmap. All right, so solution number one is drilling. So drilling is when you get a partner, right? You just ask one of your teammates either before class or after class during open mat, and you ask them to practice a specific technique. And when you're practicing this specific technique, you do a bunch of reps and there is zero resistance. So how this helps you is you get to actually complete the technique without somebody shutting you down, because you actually have to do the complete movement and practice that in order to then take it to live training. But here's a problem with that. When you're doing movements and your partner isn't giving you complete resistance, that's not really based in reality of what's going to happen when you get out there and you try to implement it during live training. So drilling is almost like building a ship, right? So you're building a boat during drilling and you finish the boat, which is your movement, your technique, but it's on land. Now you need to see if it's seaworthy. You need to take it to the blue. You need to take it to the mat and see if it floats. Now you take this movement that you've built, right, that's now on dry land, then you take it to live rolling and you realize that it has a bunch of holes in it and the ship is going to sink. But the problem is when you're out at sea, it's hard to fix holes in a ship when you're out at sea, right? Like, you're in the middle of the ocean, you're gonna sink. So drilling is a good way to learn a technique, but it's really hard to fix the holes without resistance. So a solution to this is drilling with incremental resistance. And what does this look like? All right, so what I would do is I would grab a partner. I would be like, hey, all right, let's work on this move. They would want to work on it too. Let's say it's, a side control escape. So I would work on the escape, make sure I have all the movement, like the movement technically correct. And then my partner would work on it. We would do like 5 reps each, do that for 20 minutes. And then after that, I would be like, okay, now let's incrementally increase the resistance. So I'd be like, all right, give me 25% resistance, give me 50% resistance, give me 90% resistance. And at each resistance level, I would uncover holes in the movement. And it's at that point in time where you can actually fix it. You can fix the hole in your boat because you're not at sea yet, which is the beautiful thing. So with drilling is awesome to learn the movement, to learn the technique, and to learn all the technical aspects of the technique. But in order to figure out where your biggest holes are, you need to add resistance to the drilling. So your partner needs to pretend like they're fighting you in order for you to understand how your movement isn't working, so that when you do take it to the mat, your ship's going to float. Or maybe there's just a little patch that you need to put on there. So what would also happen while I was rolling and live training is the fact of like not remembering a movement fast enough in order to implement it. And in your brain, you know, there's things that you consciously have to think about and things that you don't, right? Like, you can think about other things while you brush your teeth. You're not, when you drive to work, you can just zone out. You're not consciously like thinking, all right, I need to press on the gas, you know, I need to press on the clutch, the gas. Like, you don't have to think about it because it's already so ingrained in your mind that it comes as second nature. So in order to get to the level that moves can be implemented effortlessly, repetition needs to happen. And when you do drilling, what's also very good is putting yourself in the place where you have issues while you're rolling. So let's say you're rolling and, you know, maybe you always get stuck in mount, and every time you've tried to bridge and roll, it just doesn't work. Well, that problem, that hole in your game, you can take it to drilling and drill that exact scenario and start building your ship. So for example, you can be like, all right, I'm always getting stuck, you know, mounted. I need to work on 2 escapes, you know, my bridge and roll and, you know, the elbow escape, elbow knee escape. And if you drill those moves together, then that is really going to help your game, because you have an option 1 and you have an option 2. And you can also build on this. So this is getting into something else. This is the third thing that can help your game. It's called flow rolling. So flow rolling is like regular rolling, except it has 0 resistance. So this is great because then you can piece movements together in a way that's like rolling, but in a way that you're not going to get completely shut down because your partner isn't giving you, you know, full resistance. It's flowy, it's light. Now there's a couple problems that happened when I started to flow roll as a beginner. One, I didn't know a lot of movements, so sometimes it would just be completely awkward because I wouldn't know what to do next. And then second of all, if you're doing it with like another white belt or somebody who is just like go, 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 it's really hard to maintain that low level of resistance. Lots of times it's like, all right, let's flow roll. And then a minute later, we're like going 100%. So those are the 2 issues that I came across, and here's how you can solve them. So if you're a beginner and you're trying to flow roll but you don't know enough movements and you haven't pieced them together enough, you can think about a couple of movements that you want to put together, like maybe, you know, two escapes and a way to move up the BJJ tree positionally. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with the BJJ tree, definitely watch these 2 videos, because I go over basically like the the fundamentals, like the how Jiu Jitsu works and where you want to go as an overall strategic plan in terms of movement and position progression. So as a beginner, pick a couple moves that go together. I definitely recommend escapes from negative positions, and then pair that with a movement that will get you up and have a positional advantage from where you previously were. So you're trying to climb that BJJ tree positionally. And once you have that, oh my goodness. So you're flow rolling, right? You have a couple positions that you know sequentially go together. Like for example, let's say, you know, you do a escape from side control and you replace the guard, right? So now you're flow rolling and you can put those two things together. So as a beginner, your flow roll is going to be rather short, but it's something that you can build upon. Now, finally, oh my goodness, this is big. All right, this happened to me all the time, and this happened to other beginners that I trained with. All right, so I remember when I first started, I was obsessed with Osotogari. I was obsessed. I loved that move. I would drill that move over and over and over again. And when I was live training, I would try to get that move, right? But every time I would try to do the move, it would not work. Why? In Jiu Jitsu, right, the movements that you choose are the answer to a question your opponent asks. If you're answering something that they didn't ask, it is not going to work. So as a beginner, I was trying to force a movement that I wanted to do because I liked that movement. That's not going to work well because you have to implement it with 100% force. Whereas if you read the situation, like while you're rolling and your partner asks for a movement, then when you do that movement at the right time, then they are going to give you some of the force needed to complete the movement. And that's why Jiu-Jitsu is called the gentle art, right? You're using their movement to implement yours. So you have to read them and respond with the correct answer instead of coming up with an answer and nobody asked that question. Osotogari. 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 People were asking for a double leg and I was like, Osotogari. But, all right, so in summary, as a beginner, in order to get better, you are going to come across problems when you try to implement the moves that you learned during class into live rolling, and you're going to have trouble remembering what to do right in that moment. You're going to have trouble actually making the moves work while you're rolling, and you're going to have issues with timing because you're going to be so infatuated with trying to do the move that you drilled that you're going to be trying to do it when it's completely inappropriate. Osotogari. And that was the reason why, those reasons are why my stuff didn't work. So yeah, definitely drill. Drilling is really good, especially if you're new and you're sore from all of the live training. Drilling is much easier on your body. It gives you a chance to recover while still improving the technical aspect of your game. I definitely answered that question about of methods to prevent soreness in this video. So definitely watch that one. And yeah. So start drilling, pick a partner, do incremental resistance, try to flow roll by, modulating your intensity and piecing movements together. You can also do this on a smaller scale, just piece a couple movements together and practice that over and over and over again. That way your mind will be able to recall those movements in that sequence when you're live rolling. And then holes in your ship. Drill, build the ship. Bring it out to sea, find the holes, take it back into port, and patch those puppies up with drilling with incremental resistance. That way you can mimic the ocean without actually being in the ocean. It's like taking it out to a lake that's like 6 feet deep, and then you can take it out to the ocean. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. This will definitely help your game. If you have any questions, realizebjj@gmail.com, and that's it. Thank you for watching. And it's all about humanity.